On Wednesday, NFL insider Ian Rappaport reported that the 49ers have been receiving calls regarding possible trades for quarterback Trey Lance. Now, in that report, Rappaport did not mention who any of those teams were. He just mentioned that those teams were coming from outside the 49ers building and that the 49ers were willing to listen. Well, we now know at least two of the teams that made those calls. One of those, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The other, the Indianapolis Colts. Both teams make a lot of sense considering their current situations at quarterback. Tampa Bay looking to replace Tom Brady, who retired following last season. And the Indianapolis Colts have a new head coach, Shane Steichen, who came over from the Philadelphia Eagles. They don't have a quarterback at the moment either. So both of those make a lot of sense. Now, in terms of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have picks 11 and 50. So I would find it hard to believe that the 49ers would be able to get pick 11. Most likely there it would be pick 50, maybe a player in return from the Buccaneers. The Colts is a little bit of a different situation. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the 49ers doing Trey Lance wrong over the course of his time in San Francisco. And I'll say this, if the 49ers want to do right by Trey Lance, they would send him to Indianapolis. Shane Steichen, the head coach there, like I mentioned, he has spent the last 2 seasons as the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. During his time there, he turned Jalen Hurts from a player who had been taken in the second round that most people didn't think was going to be a very good quarterback to getting him paid by $250 million over the next 5 years. So nice little turnaround there for Jalen Hurts under Shane Steichen. And it just so happens that Trey Lance has a lot of the same skill sets that Jalen Hurts has. I think the 49ers, when they made that trade for Trey Lance, thought that they were going to get a guy who can do all those things that Jalen Hurts did for the Philadelphia Eagles the last 2 seasons. Now, makes it a perfect spot there for them. Now, what would the 49ers get in return? Well, you look at it right now, the Eagles have pick 4 in round 1, and then they have pick 35 in round 2. In a situation similar to where the 49ers are right now with Trey Lance, I find it hard to believe that anybody's going to give up a first-round pick for him unless it's maybe towards the end of the round. It's more likely that they're going to get a pick in the second round, maybe a 4th next year. That would, I think, be the best that they could expect. There's been a lot of talk around the Houston Texans being a potential destination for Lance, and the thought process around that is the Texans have a roster that needs to be rebuilt. They can go ahead and pick a defensive lineman and offensive lineman with their first picks in rounds 1. And then in round 2, they get their quarterback of the future in Trey Lance. It's a similar situation in Indianapolis. Bad team. They can go ahead and they can pick up pick number 4. They can get an offensive lineman or edge rusher at that spot. And then at 35, get their quarterback of the future. Somebody that's going to be price protected for the first couple of years. Going to be a little bit cheaper. Actually be right around the same cost as if they had taken a quarterback at number 4 overall. So from that perspective, makes a lot of sense. And like I said as well, Shane Steichen, he knows how to use a quarterback like Trey Lance. He's shown that over the last 2 years during his time with the Eagles. So it make a lot of sense for the 49ers there, make a lot of sense for the Eagles as well. We'll see what happens. I still believe that the 49ers will not move Trey Lance before the draft. There's a lot of smoke around it though. And another team that's been in a lot of discussions around the 49ers and possibly making a trade for Trey Lance is the Minnesota Vikings, and that's another team to keep an eye on there as well. You have Kirk Cousins, who is coming to the final year of his contract in Minnesota. There's been a lot of talk about potentially the Vikings making a trade to acquire Lance, bringing on another player as well as part of that deal, going back to the 49ers. So we'll see how that plays out. And if the 49ers were able to pick up Kirk Cousins, maybe Brock Purdy's not going to be healthy. That's kind of the reason why they would make that move to get Kirk Cousins. The salary cap hit for Cousins would only be $10 million to the 49ers. So that's one of those that's out there. I think it's highly unlikely that the Minnesota Vikings are the team that the 49ers end up dealing with. But we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun there. And then one other piece of 49ers quarterback news. Just so happens that quarterback who everybody keeps checking out on, that right arm of Brock Purdy, hey, he was at the Giants game last night, and he was at the Giants game with a couple of his old pals. Offensive lineman Nick Zakelj, and his other offensive lineman, his left guard, Aaron Banks. They were both in attendance there, and we got the chance to see Purdy waving to the crowd, slapping some hands and shaking hands, and probably the most watched wave of an NFL quarterback that you've seen in quite a long time. And it's funny to watch the way that the 49er faithful and the San Francisco community has embraced Brock Purdy. He got a standing ovation from the crowd last night at Oracle Stadium at the Giants game. So Purdy looking good. You definitely could see that he didn't have his brace on. He was waving to the crowd quite vigorously with that right arm. We've gone from analyzing quarterbacks who are throwing against air to how a quarterback waves to the crowd. So the 49ers are a lot of fun to cover. They're a content creation machine. We don't even need to create the content. The 49ers create the content for us, and we just get a chance to come in here and discuss it. So thanks a lot for everybody who's taken the time to watch this. If you guys can do me a favor, hit that like button on your way out, and also if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification that goes along with it so that you don't miss any of the content as it pops up here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. We're going to make sure we bring you all the 49ers breaking news, content updates as they happen. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk with you soon.